Greetings. We are very excited to have such a large audience today. I want to welcome you and thank you for participating. My name is Malia Franklin, and I am your host today. I'm a consultant for the National Center on Parent, Family, and Community Engagement. And this Sunday is Father's Day, and what better time to talk about our topic today of fostering fathers' leadership skills. We got the very first question in our Q&A was, how can you make fathers feel a part of the group with limited or no male staff? How can you gain their trust? And then another question, would we give examples of ways that I can use to generate more fatherhood participation in our Head Start activities? These are great questions, and they are exactly in line with what we're going to present today. We're going to focus on fathers as advocates and leaders. Fathers can be an overlooked resource in our family engagement efforts, and we're talking to 3 experts who will share how to successfully integrate fathers into your programs. In addition to tips and best practices, our experts will introduce you to tools that you can put into action right away to make your program more father-friendly. Today's webinar also addresses it's part of a series of engaging parents as advocates and leaders, a webinar series. This is the first one in which we're going to be highlighting tools and resources and examples of how you can promote equity, responsiveness, and collaboration with diverse families. And it obviously addresses a key part of the Head Start family community engagement framework and the outcomes thereof. As in many things, Head Start has a strong history of promoting father engagement. Head Start has been a pioneer in family engagement in general. And that's no different with father engagement. So beginning in the 1990s, Head Start and Early Head Start began a series of male involvement demonstration projects. And as evidence of the positive impact of father engagement grew, so did the commitment of the federal government to making sure this was part of all of the efforts of the Office of Family Assistance. And so in 2018, there was a memo, which I've linked in this PowerPoint, that urged all federal family serving agencies to prioritize and enhance father engagement. So I'm going to take you to our first presenter, who will introduce himself.
Thank you, Malia. My name is Kevin Berman. I work for First Five Alameda County, and I co-founded the Alameda County Fathers Corps back in 2013. I myself am a father. I had my first child when I was 19. My wife and I had our first child when I was 19. She is now going to be 24 next month, and she just moved out on her own, which is amazing. My middle daughter is 20, and I have a 16-year-old son. So I've been a father pretty much my entire adult life, and the whole adult part is debatable, but I have been a dad a long time, and this work is very close to my heart. I was raised by my father and my stepmom, and he had 4 amazing brothers who were a part of my life my entire life and still a part of my life today. So I've been surrounded by really great men my entire life, and so that's why this work is important to me. And I think it's critical that we do a better job as providers with engaging and supporting the needs of fathers, and that's really what the Fathers Corps is about. So you say why focus on dads? The reality is the data shows that it's important. It leads to improved weight gain and preterm infants, improved breastfeeding rates, higher receptive language skills, and so on. And the reality is a father's role is underappreciated and not acknowledged as critical to the optimal development of children. So that's another reason why to focus on fathers. Support services have historically focused on supporting mom and child. So historically, especially if we talk about early childhood, those services have always focused on supporting the needs of mom and child. And just the reality is there are not, at least in California and the Bay Area, there are not many places fathers go for judgment-free support with being the best fathers that they want to be. And the reality is if we can move the needle on this issue, we can drastically improve the outcomes for children and communities. So now I'm going to get into a little bit of background about the Fathers Corps to tell you a little bit how we established ourselves as a program in Alameda County. Like I said, we were started back in 2013. We began as a learning community for male service providers, so men who work in our communities in a number of different capacities. We wanted to bring them together and provide some training on early childhood, and also with a very intentional and unapologetic focus on supporting the needs of fathers. We started off as a cross-systems collaboration between First Five Alameda County Healthcare Services Agency, and Alameda County Social Services Agency. So like I said, it's a cross-systems collaboration with monetary support from all of those organizations. And we're supported by, from the very beginning, we've been supported by the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. Our work falls into three very distinct categories: capacity building. So we wanted to build the capacity of providers who are working within these public systems and in our community-based organizations to effectively serve and support the needs of fathers. Research and assessment. We wanted agencies to be able to assess how father-friendly they are or are not, and make adjustments based on that. And then system change. We want to make our social and family support system more father-friendly. We want folks within that system to do a better job of intentionally engaging and supporting the needs of fathers. To do that, to support our partners with becoming more father-friendly, the Alameda County Fathers Corps, in that first year learning community of men, we identified 7 father-friendly principles. Those father-friendly principles were adopted by the Alameda County Board of Supervisors in 2015. In that resolution, they included language that strongly encouraged all social and family and community support programs to not only adopt the father-friendly principles, but to take very concrete steps with implementing the father-friendly principles. These principles serve as a roadmap for organizations to effectively serve and support the needs of fathers. So these highlights, these are just a high level. You guys have been sent a link to the full version of the father-friendly principles, but these are just a high level. Include the needs of fathers when you're serving families. Provide father-friendly services when you're serving and working with families. Portray positive images of fathers. A big focus of our work here is that we really want to change the narrative around fatherhood, especially when we're talking about Black and brown fathers. We want to change the narrative. A lot of times when we have conversations about Black and brown fathers, and those conversations start with absenteeism, incarceration, child support, domestic violence, and things like that. So we want to change the narrative around fatherhood so that the conversations don't start with that. We definitely understand that there are some fathers. Domestic violence is something that happens, but that's not the majority of fathers. That's not the majority of fathers. So we wanted to change the narrative of fathers as well, and I can give you some steps we've taken, share with you some steps we've taken to do that. Now I'm going to share some principles and kind of some tips with implementing those principles. One, include the needs of fathers. So collect contact information from dads. Talk to your fathers. You can also host focus groups with fathers to find out what their needs are. There was a question about how you increase father engagement or foster male engagement. One way is to talk to them and find out what they ask dad if he has any questions or concerns, and then invite fathers to activities. And when I say invite fathers to activities, I'm not talking about when it's time to clean up the yard or when it's time to put kids. It's okay to ask that to come in and help backyard and build a fence or build a garden, but that's only turning into fathers that tends to be an issue. Portray positive images of fathers. Like I said, we really are laser focused on changing the narrative of fathers. To do that, we've got to incorporate images of fathers that show them as just being dads. To support organizations and programs with the implementation of this father-friendly principles, we've developed our Diversity of Fatherhood photo bank. That photo bank, we've hosted photo shoots with probably over 40 families or 50 families in Alameda County. We've uploaded them to a site, and organizations can request access to those images and download those images and use them in their collateral materials, but also hang them in their spaces so that when Dad walks in, he sees himself represented. And all of these pictures in this part of the presentation are from that photo bank. Malia has provided the link in the one-pager to that photo bank as well. And these are free access. We just ask a couple of questions: your name, your organization, your zip code, and how you plan to use the photos. And I'll give you access. We'll send you a PIN number, and you'll get access to over 800 photos. Create positions that serve fathers. Ideally, those positions will be staffed by men. The reality is just, fathers are more open to receiving information from, and that's just the way it is. Examples of those positions are father engagement specialists, fathers advocates, mentors, and parenting liaison. So again, communication, building relationships, reaching out to dad, being intentional about it. For the most part, when we've done this work and doing this work over the past 7 years, intentionally not serving fathers, they're just not intentionally serving fathers. And what we found, especially in early childhood, is, when you work all parents are welcome, or a parent group, a lot of times that does not speak to dad. And the folks who show up for that are moms. So if you want fathers to show up, strong is offering father-specific programming, and like I said earlier, engage fathers and talk to them by doing surveys from the dad, what it is that they're looking for, what they need to be the best parent that they can be. Train staff on fatherhood issues. The reality is we all have our own life experiences. We all have relationships or don't have relationships with our fathers. Those relationships can be positive. Those relationships can be negative. Whichever they are, they influence how we move through this world, and how we engage parents and particular fathers. My advice is to remain neutral as a provider. You are on the child's side, not mom or dad. Your interest is the well-being of the child. Ensure that staff are consistently and effectively engaging. When dads come in, are they being involved in the same way that moms are? And if you're an organization that doesn't have a history of serving dads, it may take time before dads feel comfortable. But I strongly suggest that you guys go, persist and continue to reach out to fathers. Eventually they will come. And then, like I said, reflect and acknowledge on the baggage and or bias that you may bring. You don't want that influencing your work and how you support and engage fathers. Expect father participation. Assume that fathers are involved and want information about their child. In a lot of cases, providers assume the opposite. Again, assume fathers are involved about their children. Excuse me. And then design programs for dads. Identify strategies for staff to engage fathers. Be intentional. It's not just going to happen. And then, like I said earlier, host father-specific parent-child activities. Okay. These are some characteristics of successful fatherhood programs. What you name your program speaks to fathers. Like I mentioned, I was a 19-year-old parent, and I can't honestly say that if a program was named Daddy Playgroup or something like that I would have done. Dad Cafes have been some successful names of programs. Daddy and Me, those types of things. But just pay attention. I encourage you to pay attention to what you name your programs. I also encourage you, if you're starting a program, to get the fathers involved in naming it so they can take some ownership. Male facilitators whenever possible. Meet fathers where they are. If a dad is having housing issues or work issues, it's going to be hard for them to be receptive to these different things that you're bringing as far as child development or parent education. So if you can support them with addressing their issues that they have going on currently, then you can move forward with your agenda. Trust and authenticity between provider and dad is key. We can tell in the first 10 seconds of a conversation if you really care about my issues and me being engaged with our children. Leadership and staff are patient. Now, when I say that, I mean if you're an organization that hasn't had a history of serving dads or providing other specific programs, it may take some time for dads to attend your group. So when I say be patient, I mean give it a chance before you cancel a program. You may have to have one or two series of events before dads start coming. Just keep that in mind. Non-traditional hours of service. If you want dads to participate, offering a service at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday may not be, well, until this current situation happens. But that may not be the best time, so think about when you're offering your services. And then incentives. I'd say, get as close to cash as you can get. There's this outlook that you shouldn't have to pay a parent to improve their skills as a parent. So I think the idea is do what you got to do to get dad in there, and then provide a compelling enough program that it makes dads want to come back. If it takes a $25 gift card or something to get them through the door, that's a small price to pay. So again, just incentives whenever possible. These are some successful outreach strategies. So other fathers are good for outreach when you're trying to get dads involved in a program. Male staff. Now, when I say male staff, don't use your male staff only when it's time for outreach. Get them involved in the planning and programming development so that they feel bought in. And then again, authentic when you're doing your outreach. Go where dads are, where they used to be. Barbershop, schools, labor industry, recovery, GameStop, sports teams or leagues. That's another place where dads are. But go where dads are. And then also you can partner with other agencies or programs that are doing a good job of engaging men. And some of those programs are like workforce development programs, probation and reentry programs, manhood development programs, and then child support. Obviously, they do a lot of engaging of that. We've developed some tools that organizations can use to get them thinking about ways that they can be more father-friendly. This is not a gotcha tool. What this tool is really for is to get programs and staff thinking about some really practical ways that can improve your engagement with fathers. Identify where you're falling short on your support and engagement of fathers. So the Father-Friendly Organizational Assessment Tool, which again this tool is tied directly to the Father-Friendly Principles. This is just a little piece of it. So we've also developed a father-friendly. So after you have assessed how father-friendly your organization or program is or is not, we've also developed a Father-Friendly Principles implementation tool, which provides a step-by-step guide for organizations to implement each of the 7 father-friendly principles on a client and practice level, on a staff capacity building level, and then on a system and policy level. So each one of the father-friendly principles has very concrete strategies under each of these categories for implementing each of the 7 father-friendly principles. So you can find that on Malia's tip sheet as well. Here's a sample of the implementation tool. So create conditions so that male staff feel comfortable, valued, and respected within the agency. Create positions to serve fathers' needs and actively recruit men to fill those positions. Include the father-friendly principles in new hire orientation materials, and then assign a father-friendly principles mentor to all new hires. An example of some of the steps that you can take to implement this father-friendly principle.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to, so this is also, you can save more questions for Kevin when we finish the presenting part and go into the Q&A. Be sure to download your tip sheet so that you can access all of these tools, including the free photo bank and these implementation and self-assessment tools for the father-friendly principles. And we are now going to hear from someone who is from a Head Start program, and I'm going to let him, in addition, he has brought a father in to talk with us about his experience. So I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Malia. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt. I am the Parent Leadership and Male Engagement Specialist at Head Start for Kent County. Kent County is West Michigan. We are the greater Grand Rapids area. Personally, I am a father to a 14-year-old daughter who just graduated from 8th grade, and my wife and I are actually currently in the home study phase of the adoption process, and we are looking to adopt an infant domestically. So I am going to be starting all over here soon. I'm going to have a high schooler and a baby at some point. So I am deep in fatherhood, but I've been working with dads in some capacity or another since 2008. I actually ran an organization for single fathers for 10 years as well, and now I'm over at Head Start. Head Start for Kent County, we serve just over 1,600 families. We have 13 preschool sites around our county. 4 of those buildings are early Head Start classrooms. Those are our infant toddler classrooms. We have a home visiting program that, give or take, fluctuates a little bit, but serves about 100 families on a regular basis. We've been recognized in a couple areas. One of them is we've been recognized nationally by the Office of Head Start for our outstanding collaboration with our statewide pre-K program. Our county now has a one application and a 1-800 number for all state and locally funded pre-K programs. As a result of this, about 75% of eligible 4-year-olds in the Grand Rapids area are now receiving pre-K services. So that has been a community collaboration. Also, our Data and Outcomes Department has been working with the National Head Start Association on developing a data playbook for Head Start to use. A few things I'm going to touch on in my portion here. Some of it might be a little overlap with Kevin's as well, but we really want to emphasize and drive some of these points home. The importance and the value of a male engagement position, which is part of what I do. Father-specific programming, finding creative ways to reach out and to connect with the dads, big or small. Fatherhood competency training, otherwise known as something like professional development. We're going to be talking about unconscious bias. And leadership and career pathways for the fathers or for parents as well. Creating avenues for parents to come in as volunteers, perhaps as a parent leader in your organization, and possibly even, as will be the case when Travis talks, even pursuing a career in the field as well. The male engagement position was piloted in 2007 at our agency. The gentleman who originally piloted it, he is now our operations director. After him, my coworker and colleague, Deborah Conley, she ran the fatherhood position for multiple years, did a fantastic job amongst all the other things she carries at the office. And I came on board in 2017, again, as the male engagement and also the parent leadership specialist. We have a lot of different ways that we reach out to dads, but 2 of the biggest ways have been through the Dad's Cafes. Kevin talked about parent cafes or Dad's Cafes. Dad's Cafes are the same as the parent cafes, just the questions are more geared towards the men. But it's a great way not only to build relationships with the fathers in your program, but also for the men to build relationships with each other because it's in a small group setting. And there's a two-way communication. I love the idea of partnering with our parents and having a two-way communication instead of us dictating and kind of, speaking or talking to in a one way, for us to partner with them. Cafes are also a great way to identify potential volunteers and parent leaders. And what we created a couple years ago is called a Family Volunteer Opportunities Sheet. And really it just has all the different opportunities of the ways parents or caregivers can get involved at our organization. Some might be an absolutely just a tiny minimal commitment. Some might be a much larger commitment, like a parent policy council. And it lays out all the descriptions, and then the parents can sign up, and then we reach out to them afterwards and contact them. Another one, and probably our biggest portion for getting fathers and father figures into the school program, we model this after the Watchdogs program. And what this is, it's really a threefold win. It's a win-win-win. The first one is the fathers and the children get some great bonding time in the school. The father can come in, or the father figure, dads, grandpas, uncles, significant others, older brothers, just male father figures. So they get to be in the child's world and see what the child does on a regular basis. It also, of course, provides a positive male influence for children who might not have that at home. And anytime you have extra adults on property, it's just extra security because you have an extra set of eyes. I mentioned we're going to address unconscious bias. This is from an article from Dr. Jay Fagan. He is the co-director of the Fatherhood Research and Practice Network. Now, he pulled this quote for a couple of our PD sessions, and he states, one of the primary reasons for the challenges female staff face in working effectively with fathers is the tendency of people to gravitate toward, spend time with, and be more comfortable around others who are similar. This fact extends to gender. It goes on to say, I have it in my notes here, that research in early childhood programs, for example, shows that women are more comfortable working with women. Early childhood is a very, men are very far and few between. It is a very, the vast majority are women, especially in the classrooms and in the sites. So we want to address unconscious bias. We want to promote inclusive communication and outreach strategies when it comes to serving the fathers and father figures in our program. Before we get on to the next slide here, I have a question for our audience. Now, we do have a good amount of people on this call today. We are about 2,500 strong today, so congratulations. Thank you for everybody that's here. But here's my question for you. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? No? Well, you know what? The food was good, but there was no atmosphere. So you see, we got thousands of people on this call all around the nation, and I can hear the groaning going all across the United States right now, but I put that in there because, you know what, we're on a fatherhood webinar, and it's Father's Day week, so we have to have at least one good dad joke in there. But I do have a reason for that, and it's really to ask the question, what sort of atmosphere are you portraying in your agency? Kevin talked about having visuals and eye contact with staff and the fathers and addressing the fathers directly. So let's be aware and cognizant of that. I've asked a couple of our dads before to do kind of like a secret shopper approach where they just come in as normal, drop off their children, maybe take a walk through the site, but to give me kind of a secret feedback. If you know secret shoppers like in a restaurant or a bank, and what it is kind of like a customer perspective, and they can kind of relay some feedback on how they are greeted, received, talked to. Do they feel like they're spoken to in the same way that the moms are? Do they see father-friendly material throughout the site? So I recommend that you do consider maybe getting some customer feedback, if you will. Don't tip off anybody in your site about that, but use the dads as a secret shopper. There's also a portion that's not on the screen, but I pulled this from the Early Childhood National Newsletter, and it states, in order to partner with fathers, staff must be willing to recognize when their own beliefs and backgrounds are forming their expectations and learn how to let those go. So the recommendations that they gave were that you reflect with a supervisor, going back to our poll that we just had a minute ago. Learn about the many ways that men approach their role as fathers. Remember, men don't parent worse, they parent differently. So get to know how dads parent, and even past that, in different cultures, there's different ways that men parent in different cultures. So reflecting on that and understanding, perhaps educating in the population that you serve. And look for the strengths in the dads, also in the parents. We're always so quick to look for flaws or weaknesses in people, but let's look for the strengths. Now, the staff awareness survey that we have in the supporting documents that we referred to in the poll, you could do it alone and you could reflect on it. Perhaps it could be a one-on-one exercise with your supervisor. For the directors, managers, and supervisors that are on the webinar, I would encourage you maybe to do it as a group or a large group discussion during your department and team meetings. I also highly recommend that you do regular professional development training on serving fathers, fatherhood, and fatherhood competency. If you don't have somebody in your house that can lead it, my recommendation is to get a father expert from your area to lead the training. We want to give fathers ownership through collaboration. Think of the word partnership. If you're taking notes today, write down the word partnership. We should be doing this with all of our parents as well. Helping dads move from involved to engaged. They might be involved. They might be present and active, dropping off, picking up at conferences, perhaps at parent meetings, family engagement nights, but let's move them into engaged. Give them a purpose. When dads know the value of them being involved, that really gives them a purpose. Case in point, I called one time about a year or two ago. I had a gentleman who was interested in volunteering in the site. He answered the phone at the house, and I said, "Hi, this is Matt from Head Start." And he said, "Here's my wife." And he handed the phone to her, and I paused. And I was like, okay. So she got on the phone. I'm like, "Can you please put him on the phone? I'm trying to talk to him." But case in point, he heard Head Start, and he just automatically deferred it over to her. So we want to give them a purpose and let them know why it matters when they're involved. Work with them, again, be patient, look for their strengths, know a man's sense of learning style and how he parents. And there are just so many benefits to parent leadership in general. When parents are leaders, active leaders in their children's school, the community, at home, those parents are more confident and assertive. Travis is a great example of that. They model positive behaviors for their families, and they influence their children to take on age-appropriate roles. A couple ways that we do that at our sites is we have the Watchdogs program, but we also have a Top Dog. I try to get at least one or two guys at each site that acts as a liaison. We have 13 preschools. I cannot be in 13 preschools at once, obviously. So what I do is try to identify a couple guys who can be a point person for me. I also highly rely on the staff and the teachers and the site supervisors, if there is a father interested in getting involved more, for them to get his information and relay it over to me as well. And then the parent sub-program, which Travis is a part of, we actually have a way now where our parents can fill out a formal employment application. They go through a formal interview process, and if they are approved or hired, they will actually go through a real background check, and then they are able to work as on-call substitute teachers in our sites. And this is a great thing because, one, it helps, they can supplement their income through that, and it also develops a pool of parents for us. It helps out if we are short-staffed. But the cool thing in the male engagement portion is when I came on board a few years ago, we have roughly 200 teachers, give or take. We only had one or two full-time men in the classrooms. Now we have male staff, but actually in the classrooms. And through the parent sub-program, pre-quarantine, before middle of March, we actually had about 5 or 6 guys working in the classroom. Now, we about tripled our male teacher population. It's still a drop in the bucket, but it is a drop in the right way. And last portion for me, build off what you have. If you know the SWOT acronym, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Within your organization, being realistic with the resources you have, the staff power, the financial resources at the time, what are your strengths your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. The Start With Why, you can look that up on YouTube or online, but basically most organizations know what they do and how they do it, but very few people know why they do what they do. But the speaker that presents this, the Start With Why, says that you should start at that laser focus in the middle. If you're thinking of a bullseye, the why being the dead center, start with your why and build back with the how and the what. And then lastly, to get men involved, look for opportunities outside to hire and recruit male staff. Does your promotional material, look at your brochures. Are men reflected in that? Go to job and career fairs, and talk to these guys. Say, have you ever seriously considered a career in early childhood? The answer is most of the time going to be no, but, start to plant that seed. And if you have the opportunity, have male staff present at those as well. So that's my time for this portion. I am going to turn it over to Travis for a few minutes. He's going to tell his story.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, I'm Travis Jones. I am involved with Head Start in a few ways. I have been part of the Watchdog program going on 3 years, starting next school year. I am also a parent substitute teacher. I probably would not have got as involved when I did if it was not for one of my son's teachers. Her name was Cookie. Miss Cookie would ask me every day that she saw me drop my son off to give Watchdog a try. When are you going to sign up? She would not take no for an answer. After spending my first day in the classroom as a Watchdog, I decided to make it at least once a week thing. Sometimes I did as many days as I could. I began getting a lot of encouragement from my family and from Miss Cookie to look into getting in the early childhood field as a teacher. My Head Start last year opened an opportunity for parents to become Head Start substitute teachers. So that's when I applied and became a part-time teacher. I am glad that I was encouraged and decided to go into the classroom because I have learned many different ways to approach many different situations that kids can have and help me as a better parent and I believe in ways a better father. It also showed me different ways to involve my children in everyday tasks that I may not have thought of on my own. I remember how my children reacted the day I got my teacher badge from Head Start. Both of my kids became very excited that they wanted to hold it and they did not want to return it. My son told me that he was happy and proud that Daddy was a teacher. So with my overall experiences, I would highly recommend for staff to try to reach out to all father figures as possible. Let the mothers know of the options for fathers, because honestly, my second biggest encouragement that got me out of my box came from my wife. For any fathers or father figures, I would highly recommend to just try one day. Children love males in the classroom, and you might just enjoy it like I did.
Thank you, Travis. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch Travis. And did you hear what he said? Just try one day. And thank goodness for Miss Cookie. Everybody might have a Miss Cookie, and Miss Cookie got Travis in the door, and here he is 3 years later, and he's by far one of our most involved parents. So I'm just going to wrap up here, and we're going to get to the last poll, and Malia will come back on. Let me ask you a question, though. What's your why? We've talked about the what's, we've talked about the how's, but what's your why? Why a male engagement position? Why a fatherhood program? Why more men in the sites? So we can look at the big reasons in the big picture, but what is your why? And then we would be remiss in talking about getting dads involved if we didn't touch on co-parenting. We could spend all day on this. I don't have time, but I do want to talk briefly about co-parenting. I read an article one time that said the single strongest predictor of a father's involvement with his children is the relationship with the mother. Now listen to this. It said it didn't matter whether they were married or divorced, living together or separated, rich or poor. That was the single strongest predictor, which made me wonder if I want to get more dads, I can have pizza parties, I can have science nights, I can do all the big rah-rahs, but if I want to get some more dads in the sites, I have to get to the moms too. So whatever that looks like in your program, Travis talked about how his wife has supported him, and moms play such a crucial role in fathers getting involved. But again, we did have a question that talked about fostering relationships when it's tense. That happens. We get it. Co-parenting is a big piece. So possibly you could offer some sort of co-parenting resources, co-parenting classes, or even just putting tips, like co-parenting tips on your social media or in your newsletters. Maybe it's a once a week or a once a month thing. Benefits of co-parenting. Did you know when parents communicate, here's X, Y, Z results. So that's my time. I thank you everybody for being here, and hopefully this will benefit your program, and hopefully to see you afterwards as well.
Thanks so much, Matt and Travis. Great presentations, and I know that people want to know so much more and about what you all have said, and we hope that our chat afterwards, many of you will join. I wanted to, before we jump into the wrap-up, I wanted to do one more poll, and this is really your opportunity to plan what you're going to do next. And so it's really the same set of questions that you answered at the beginning about what you were doing, but based on what you learned today, what would be your priority over the next 90 days to improve engagement of fathers and father figures? And these responses are based on the father-friendly principles, and obviously there may be very specific things you will take from that. For example, find out what fathers want and need. You may say, well, we've done surveys, we're going to do a focus group, or we're going to do a secret shopper or something like that. And definitely that is the key, and many of you already know that because 50% of you already are saying that that's your priority, that if fathers are going to get bought in, you're going to need to find out what motivates them and what they would participate in. That's often the key, that ownership that both Kevin and Matt talked about, how important that is. Another, the rest of them, there's smaller percentages, but one that's, the next one is create leadership roles for fathers. And so I think that's significant that you're looking at a father like Travis and thinking about how can we create roles for fathers who are wanting to step up. So we're going to just wrap this up. I know that many of you are probably wanting to know when will you get your certificates, and so I want to make sure that you know that there will be an evaluation survey sent to you after the webinar, and you will have an opportunity to respond, and after you respond, your certificate will be sent to you. Many of you are getting ECE credits this way, so I wanted to make sure that you knew that. And just a couple of housekeeping housekeeping notes before we switch over to the questions. Matt is actually hosting a fatherhood community on My Peers. Many of you may already know My Peers, which is on the Head Start resources and knowledge website. And this slide has how you register for an account. You have to wait to be accepted, so you have 2 to 3 days to wait for your email of how to log in. And you can join that and every day get new resources or be able to ask many of the same questions and get answers from Head Start staff all over the country who are interested in engaging fathers as advocates and leaders. So that's a great resource for you. And I also want to make sure that we give a huge silent round of applause to the Fathers Corps of Alameda County, California, and to Kevin Freeman for his leadership in this area and for creating such amazing and accessible tools that I hope you all will use, and to Matt and Travis from Head Start for Kent County in Michigan for your expertise and sharing from your heart as well as from your experience. That fantastic presentation, and I hope many of you took a lot away from it. And we also wanted to make sure that you knew about a resource to take your family engagement practice to the next level. There is a resource if you sign up to Text for Family Services. This is a free text messaging service that was designed for family service providers such as yourselves, and it's also available in Spanish. So how you get it is you text PFCE to the number 22660 to sign up. This will all be sent to you as resources as a follow-up, these slides, etc. So with that, I also want to thank our incredible listeners. We had, I think, over 2,500. I don't know if we're breaking any records, but that just seems pretty amazing to think of each of you taking one piece of what you learned and putting it into action. This can create such a ripple effect. So much rich information here, and I really applaud our participants. Again, I hope you take this information and you put it into action and continue to engage in all of the ways that you can to learn more from your peers. And just thank again for you for listening, for your patience with our occasional sound issues, and to our presenters for the hard work in preparing and presenting. So wonderful to have you, and thank you for being with us. And with that, we are out.